Yeah, I think one key thing, especially for our borrowers, right? When I think about it from just a financial perspective, that being my background, right? Don't feel pressure when you're trying to look for these deals, right? Like, look, we are here
Mm.
to make funding side as easy as possible for you. The less time you're spending on getting your deals funded, the more you can be focusing on finding good deals, the more you can be focused on executing good deals. But the worst thing that you could probably do, and again, I'm thinking about it from my background as looking at stocks, is you don't want to make a decision when you're under pressure.
Welcome to another episode of Fund, Flip, Repeat. I am your private hard money lender, Joel Cadlick, and with me today is another private hard money lender, Ryan Cadlick. Same last name. Interestingly enough, this is my brother. Super excited to have him on the episode. And basically, what we're doing today is introducing Ryan as, like I said, the private hard money lender, but in Texas. So we're launching a Texas market. That's the big announcement today on the episode with my brother in Texas. So super excited to have you on, man. Super excited for the audience to kind of learn about what that's going to look like and just kind of get a glimpse into your world a little bit. So thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joel. I am stoked to be here, and I am ready to talk about Texas.
Bam. Love it. Texas is huge, man. It's hard to, we're Oklahoma here, so a little bit different flavor, but Texas is ginormous. So that's wild.
Yeah, I just had a childhood friend who you obviously know visit from Eastern Europe recently, and we were laughing. Hey, San Antonio, it's close by, right? 4.5 hours away. He's laughing, thinking that's half of the country back in Poland. So that the entire country fits inside the state of Texas. It's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. I think I saw a map the other day where it's like, how long would it take you to drive through each state? And Texas was like 18 hours if you went from like tip to tip. That may or may not be wrong, but it was something close to that. I'm not remembering totally off the top of my head, but that's hilarious.
Sounds
So
about right.
let's get into it, man. So Texas, super excited. We're going to be doing some loans there and doing some deals, but like, what does it look like specifically to work with you? How do you like to operate? What does that look like? Just so the audience can get that information that would be valuable for them to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question, Joel. And I think that what it really boils down to is, we want to work with people that are easy to work with. We want to work with people who are invested in each other and how to add value to one another. And so, I'm coming from a corporate America background. And, my most recent position, before you called me up and said, hey, come join the biz, I was a director of operations and I had about 40 people reporting up directly under me, and that was my first role or in a leadership position. And I'll never forget the advice that my boss gave me at the time, and it's going to stick with me moving forward. Is hey, you need to find out not just who you are as a leader, but you really need to decide, what are your personal core values? What makes Ryan really tick? What is something that you'll never waver from moving forward in your life? And so he just challenged me. Hey, sit down, meditate on it, spend 90 days. Don't rush this thing. Figure out who you are going to be as a business person moving forward. And so I settled on three things. And this is the core of what it's like to work with me. So my three core values are vulnerability, stewardship, and connection. And so when you work with me here in Texas,
Vulnerability, you don't hear that too often, so I definitely want you to expand on that as well.
yeah, I think it's about really just meeting people where they're at.
Mm.
Um, and I think one of the core values that you all have at Fixed Lending that was so attractive to me was taking massive and imperfect action, and not being afraid to fail, right?
Yeah.
When you first offered me this opportunity, it takes faith to step out and to trust someone else. And so looking to build those deeper connections through vulnerability is, I think, huge in business. And it's something that, can be scary sometimes, but it's always rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's awesome what your leadership kind of downloaded that to you as far as doing your core values. We have a sweetheart coach and mentor who guided us in that direction. This was years ago now, some of our other businesses, and said, hey, follow this model. We actually follow the model from Traction, which is EOS, which stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We'll go ahead and put that information in the show notes. But that's how we kind of run the businesses. We line out our core values. We line out our rocks, which are just goals, quarterly goals, annual goals, monthly goals, 3 to 5 year horizon goals. And all of it ties back to the core values and how that culture has been created. And, that is what is ultimately so important, but it kind of like takes care of itself, meaning we don't have to like force the culture. It's either going to be the right fit or the wrong fit, because we're looking at bringing people in who are a part of that culture. So I think that's interesting that you led with like core values. So leadership with 40 people under you, right? You said direct reports. Did I get that right? So that's a lot. What are some like key takeaways from being in that leadership position? Because us as like smaller business or entrepreneurs, or maybe people listening to the podcast run smaller teams, but like, what's it like to be responsible and have the weight of 40 people? But like, what are some key takeaways from that too?
Yeah, I think so. So the word weighty is accurate, Joel. It was a serious responsibility that I took in a healthy way, burden wise, with me every day to work. Right? Like these people, like right now in this business, you all are stewards of our investors' capital. You all are stewards of these deals and these properties. At my old job, the stewardship burden was my people, right? It was my job to look out for them, to help them along in their professional development, but more importantly, to know them as humans, right? And to really understand what their core values were too. Each person's unique. And so I think the thing that really was so incredible for me as I made the transition over to fixed lending, I put a lot of myself into that job and into those people. And I really tried to pour as much of me as I could into their hearts from my heart. And sometimes leadership feels like a thankless job. You get a lot of recognition when you're kicking butt as an individual contributor, and then you get into a leadership role and you think, am I really making an impact here? Am I making a difference here? Am I doing the right thing? There's moments of doubt. And as I started to transition out, the outpouring of love that my team showed for me, it was such a wonderful experience for me to know that it was time well spent. That everything that I did to, pause when people needed me, right? I was never too busy to have a one-on-one with someone on my team. I always put them as the top priority and fought for them. And it all came back to me in this overwhelming, very emotional transition as I came over to join you all, because that was always time well spent pouring into others and focused giving first. And wow, it came back to me tenfold in the end. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that speaks volumes in and of itself. I really do. So really, really cool to hear that. So moving from that position of leadership into a new position of leadership, running the Texas market, also not a small feat. You could say that could be a little weighty as well. We talked about it being a ginormous market, right? Just a big market. So like, what would that look like to do, or what's the difference? Because there is plenty of competition in Texas. We know that, right? Plenty of competition anywhere you go. But like, what would make it different for a borrower or a real estate investor coming to fixed lending in Texas to do a deal that might be different from what they're used to?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think it really boils down to the team that you and Justin have assembled here. We have some really talented folks, not just us, on the podcast talking here with our faces out there, but the folks behind the scenes are amazing. Right. So they're killing it. That's a key differentiator. The human capital side of things is massive. I think the other thing too, as I'm really learning this business, is everyone is so unique in how they operate. Our borrowers are all different, right? And so our ability to really walk alongside them, to be almost like champions, is, I think, a really key difference for us, right? If you pick up the phone and you call, it's going to be Ryan, right? If you're doing a deal in Texas, you're talking to Ryan. You're texting with Ryan. You're emailing with Ryan. I'm the one that's going out to have lunch with you. I'm going to walk that property with you. We're going to be in that deal with you and ensure that you are successful from start to finish. And you don't have to worry about who's on the other side of your deal from a funding perspective. You've got me. And if you trust me and you believe in my core values, then I think that, we're going to have a lot of success here in the state of Texas.
Yeah. No, and I love that answer too, because I mean, it is such a relationship business, and, you know, we rise and fall together to some extent, depending on who our circle is, who the people that we trust is. And I think, as if you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, right? Depending on what your team looks like, you're always adding to your team, or you might be top grading your team, or you might be, just now starting out to where it's like, okay, I've got my attorney, I've got my bookkeeper, my CPA, I've got my title company, I've got my real estate agent. Okay, who else do I need? It's like you absolutely need your money guy too, right? Lean on OPM, lean on other people's money, but make that person a partner, make that a relationship. It is a big, big deal. It's one of the most critical components for success in these deals. And you need somebody on your side who's not going to walk away at the closing table because the environment or the deal just didn't smell right or something like that. It's like you got a confirmation, hey, we're going to do this deal with you. We're in it together. We're a partnership. And honestly, what I say too, man, is like when things get hairy, which they can tend to do, it's like you want to be able to call Brian, who you are grabbing coffees and lunches with, and explain the situation. If it's a legitimate complaint, or not complaint, but issue, then that can be solved, and creativity and the brain trust can come together. So that helps protect your liability and your downside, to where it's not just oh, sorry, we're foreclosing, no big deal. All those things at the end of the day are critical, and it's more of the long-term horizon of what your success is going to look like versus, hey, it's just the short-term in and out type of situation, even though these are short-term loans. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to add. But yeah.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, so I was director of operations at a large financial firm, and people always wanted to know, hey, if X happens, what's Y, right, in the equation, and they wanted it spelled out for ahead of time. And the truth is that no 2 days or no 2 market crashes or no 2 policies coming out of DC are created equal or the same. And so it was really our ability to think on the fly and make decisions that were appropriate for that time in that circumstance. And I think that's what's super key in this business as well, is, hey, no 2 deals are going to be exactly the same. And so that communication and that trust between us and our borrowers is what really sets us aside, going back to your original question, right? Of, hey, this is a unique situation that we're going to provide unique and custom solutions to, working together to get through and ensure that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, and we try to avoid unique as much as possible, but it does come up. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what other tips, whether just in general from the lending side or from the your experience in leadership, would you want to share on this episode?
Yeah, that's a really big question. I'll try and keep it to just a few things. Let's just start in general, right? I always, going back to my boss, obviously he had a big impact on me at my prior firm. One of the things he told me first stepped into the role, he said, hey, make sure you're being selfish. And I thought, that's weird. Leadership, at least how I love to do it, is about servant leadership, right? Serving those who are under you. And I still believe that very, very deeply. But the point is that if you're not being selfish, if you're not building some time to develop yourself into your schedule, you're not just doing yourself a disservice, you're doing those who are closest to you, whether it's your family members, your business partners, whoever it is, you're doing them a disservice as well by not investing in yourself, because you are your greatest asset and you are your business's greatest asset as well. So you really need to make sure that no matter how busy you are, and I know it's really hard for us, right? Especially as small business folks, we think, hey, we can't afford to set that time aside because it's full steam ahead. You really can't afford not to invest in yourself, right? Otherwise, you're gonna become stagnant, and you're gonna start moving backwards. So investing in yourself is, I think, one of the biggest things that I was always trying to cultivate in terms of my team culture.
Yeah, I think that's so true, and it is very easy to overlook. But an unhealthy you equals an unhealthy team equals an unhealthy business. So you have to be healthy to have health in the organization or the business. Is kind of the way I like to look at it, is healthy, unhealthy. But yeah, you got to kind of take care of your home first, because if your home's not taken care of, it's just going to bleed, and it's not going to be the best it could be, I guess, in some senses of the word. So, no, I think that's excellent advice. So, yeah, be selfish. Interesting. Okay, great, love it.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, and we're both husbands, we're both fathers, right? We have 3 kids, and so I think one of the things that we can fall into pitfall wise too, Joel, is, hey, I gotta put the family first, I gotta put the kids first, I gotta put the job first, I gotta put the team first, and those things are all good, and those things are all godly. But again, if you're not carving out personal time to recharge for you, you're going to burn out, right? You're doing your family a disservice.
Absolutely. Yep. Nope, that's true. Okay. So yeah, big takeaways there. I love it. Anything else that you have to share before we slowly wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I think one key thing, especially for our borrowers, right? When I think about it from just a financial perspective, that being my background, right? Don't feel pressure when you're trying to look for these deals, right? Like, look, we are here to make funding side as easy as possible for you. The less time you're spending on getting your deals funded, the more you can be focusing on finding good deals, the more you can be focused on executing good deals. But the worst thing that you could probably do, and again, I'm thinking about it from my background is looking at stocks, is you don't want to make a decision when you're under pressure. You want to make sure that you have a clear head, right? And I think the key part of that is knowing what options are available to you. You said it earlier in the show of, hey, fixed lending is not always going to be the best option for every single deal, right? We are looking to partner with folks where it's going to be a win-win situation, right? We want you to succeed. And that's really where our heart is at, is serving you. And so, patience is key. When people were trying to work for me on my team, they would always ask, like, hey, what's the one thing I can really focus on, right? Should I really brush up on my Excel skills? Should I focus on multitasking? Should I focus on my communication? I said, all those things are great, but the number one thing to success in any role is patience. If you can be a patient person and you can make decisions with a clear head, chances are you're going to be successful.
That's a hard thing to exercise too, Ryan, because real estate moves fast, but it also moves slow. Yeah. So if you're flipping a house, like, you're moving on it quickly, but it could take you 6, 7, 8 months between close to close. That's not short, and it's a lot of work. So there's some sense of it is like hurry up and wait, but there's some sense of it is just like, closing more deals, and then you've got a pipeline, and then you've got inventory, depending on what stage you're at, of course. Or maybe you're working on the house just yourself. But yeah, patience can be a difficult thing, because you might see that deal and you want to jump on it because you haven't seen something for a while, and then you start getting pressure, you start feeling a little angsty, and I totally get it, right? You got to put food on the table, and it could be very weighty. But one thing I love to say is some of the best deals you do are the ones you don't do, right? Because that's when you get into trouble. When you start manipulating the numbers and saying, well, like, oh man, if I just, or maybe if I could, if you start hearing yourself say that, huge red flags, because now you're manipulating numbers to make the deal fit for what you need it to look like. And the deal should just be a deal the second you paper it up or pencil it out. So yeah, really good feedback on the patience.
It's so accurate, man, right? It's like, it's the same thing in your equities portfolio. Sometimes the best trades are the ones that you didn't make, right? And there was a lot of panic selling going on in the market recently. And yesterday, look what happened. The NASDAQ in one day bounced up 4%, right? So if you avoid panic in your decision making, chances are, especially when you take a long-term view on things, you're going to be more successful.
Yeah. And let's talk about the relationship aspect too, right? Because that's what we're here for as well. Guys, we seal deals. Like, one competitive advantage that we have as your private money lender, right, is we see deals day in and day out from all over the place. So naturally, and it's not like we're special or anything, it's just like we have the opportunity and privilege to be able to see all these deals happening all over, which just naturally gives us the knowledge to be able to understand the different markets and the niches and what's going on. So lean on that. Give us a call. Like, that's what we're here for as well. We're happy to be that guide, kind of like Ryan was touching on as well. Yeah, and that's where our partnership comes into play as well. So yeah, relationship.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, Joel, you know, and that's really where my heart has always been at, is in coaching, in education, in teaching, right? And so that aspect of, you know, being able to walk you through where we maybe see some pitfalls, right? Helping you learn from other people's mistakes. I think there's so much value that we can provide there. And kind of walk you through that process, because again, we're in almost like a consultant role too, right? We're not just a lender,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And if we look at the deal, hey, the questions we ask ourselves, this is a deal I would do. This is a deal, that I would feel comfortable with my grandma doing. It sounds silly, but, silly things like that actually make a big impact. And it's all about success, not only protecting the capital or the money, but success for our investors and the people we work with, because we want you to be ultimately successful, because then you're going to do more and more deals, whether you do it with us or not. But the last thing you'd want to do is enter into a deal that fall through and then it completely takes you out of the game. And maybe this is something you're really passionate about. That is stewardship on our side too, is to make sure we're stewarding that every deal with the investors see success as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any last parting words, Ryan? Wait, one thing before we do parting words. We always like to lead with value in some aspect on the podcast and with actionable items. So since we're talking about Texas, the Grand Texas, super excited about that. Launching that is we're going to put this in the show notes on the Texas A&M website. There's a really, really cool resource where they do the university provides research on the Texas areas. So you can look at Texas per county. It provides you with stats of all sorts of different things: median home sale prices, which areas are hot, which ones are moving and selling, which ones are getting a little bit cold, inventory, days on market, price per square foot, rental price per square foot. So man, it's incredible. If that's information that you would find valuable at all, if you're looking at a different market to maybe invest in, or just get started out, or just to kind of give an overview, pulling this quarterly, I think it's quarterly, it might be monthly, I'm not 100% sure, but you can go ahead and pull that. It gives you a ton of data. So really, really cool. Hopefully that is a helpful resource to you guys. And of course, if you're going to look at doing any deals at all in Texas, make sure that you reach out to us, reach out to Ryan, reach out, and we'd be happy to serve you and see what we could do together. With that, Ryan, any last final parting words?
Hey, look, I don't care if you've done dozens of deals or you're about to do your first deal. Doesn't matter, right? We are relational people. We've talked about relationship. We've talked about communication. We've talked about partnership. Pick up the phone, call me, shoot me a text, send me an email. At the end of the day, it's about building relationship with one another. So I'm here. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Ryan, your contact information will be in the show notes below. Texas, we love you. We're coming. Ring the bell. We'll talk to you guys all next time.